Christopher Nolan of Batman fame gives us a science fiction movie that's touted to be the movie to see this summer. But let me warn you that Inception is quite a cerebral challenge. It's as confusing as it is intriguing. It opens with a dramatic shot of huge waves breaking on a nameless shore, and the critics suggest that this is how one needs to view the movie. One has to let it wash over you. One has to just take it in, not try to understand it, because you probably have to see it over and over again. But really, it's a character study of Dom Cobb, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. He's a man filled with guilt. He makes his living by breaking into people's subconscious and stealing their secrets. Now, the director-producer, Christopher Nolan, is fascinated with trying to make sense of the flawed human condition. And he uses his main character, Dom Cobb, to deal with the issues of becoming stuck, locked in regrets, knowing that things need to change, but not knowing how to change them. So through this main character of Dom Cobb, we are confronted with the human struggles of letting go, of forgiving and moving on. It's a movie that's worth puzzling over, and one that really does relate to the readings of our weekend. You see, that's the challenge that Abraham faced, and we hear about from the author of Hebrews, who tells us that he went out not knowing where he was to go. That Abraham had to move on and let go of the past. It took great faith and trust to leave his former life behind and to venture into the unknown. And Jesus in the gospel, in the longer version, starts out with "don't be afraid." And then in the version I read tonight tells us to be vigilant, to live in the present, to basically let the past go and be in the moment, ready and prepared. Abraham had to let go of his past to make room for all the wonderful things that were to come. But to do that, he had to have faith. He had to get unstuck, live in the present, believing that the God that he loved would take care of the future. At one point in the movie, Dom Cobb states, "I think I found a way home." Well, Abraham found a way home, a way to true freedom, but it was costly, it was risky. He had to venture into the unknown. Isn't that what our lives are all about? That each one of us is constantly called to let go of the past and to venture into the unknown. And we're called to do this with faith, and we're called to be vigilant in the present moment, trusting and letting go of our fear. Too often, though, we're stubborn, and we get stuck. We get stuck in how we think life ought to be, and we can't let go of that idea, even though it might be destroying us. We get angry that life turns out different from what our expectations are, and then we fight, and we resent, and we rebel, and we end up being miserable. And what is that saying, that wonderful saying? We plan, and God laughs. We plan, and God laughs. And Joseph Campbell tells us, we must be willing to let go of the life we have planned so as to accept the life that is waiting for us. Abraham had to accept the life that was waiting for him and for his people. He had to take that leap of faith. So what about us? In what ways are each of us at the present moment being challenged to take a leap of faith, to go to a place we have not planned? What kind of plans and expectations do we need to let go of in order to faithfully and boldly live in the present and trust the future? I certainly can share with you that being a priest today in this culture and in this church demands that kind of leap of faith. 35 years ago, when I was ordained, I would have never predicted the issues that we face as a church and a priesthood today. The lack of priests, the centralization of authority in Rome, the closing of schools and churches, the abuse crisis. We plan, and God laughs. We are being led as a church to a place we don't know, to an unknown future. But obviously, it's not just church that is changing drastically. It's medicine, it's law, it's education, and we can go on and on. Each has its own challenges, and the times are different. In many ways, all of us are being called to venture into foreign territories and to take a leap of faith. The great theologian Frederick Buechner said it best. He said, "We find by losing. We hold fast by letting go. We become something new by ceasing to be something old. This seems to be close to the heart of that mystery. I now know more now than I ever did about the far side of death as the last letting go of all. But now I know that I do not need to know, and that I do not need to be afraid of not knowing. God knows. That's all that matters." So in this world, the present moment, each one of us, we are constantly challenged to leave our comfort zones, familiar situations, habits, thinking patterns, and this is stressful. It's stressful, and we fight it tooth and nail. We make a million excuses as to why we should not change, rather than embrace the change that almost always is inevitable. From the simplest task of giving away old clothing to the most daunting task of leaving a job, of moving away, of losing a friendship, of changing an entire lifestyle. It's always painful. And in all of it, we are challenged to move forward boldly. Loss and an unknown and unpredictable future are two significant stumbling blocks that keep us stuck in the past. It takes a lot of faith. As the author of Hebrews writes, the realization of what is hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That's what gave Abraham the courage to venture out into an unknown future. Inception might be the movie to see this summer, but be aware, it is as perplexing and confusing as it is intriguing. You'll leave the theater anxious to talk about the ending and trying to piece together all the different dreams. I couldn't even try to spoil it for you. It's so complicated. But it's like life. Very complex, but if you just let it wash over you like the waves of an ocean, then it will challenge. If we let it be, it will challenge us. And I guess that's what we have to do with change. We have to let it wash over us. We have to sit with it, embrace it, and not fight it. And we will be better people when we just let go. Jack Kornfield wrote this. He said, "Once we see that everything is impermanent and ungraspable, and that we create a huge amount of suffering if we are attached to things staying the same, we realize that relaxing and letting go is a wiser way to live. And letting go does not mean not caring about things. It means caring about them in a flexible and a wise way." In the movie, Dom Cobb found his way home when he let go. Where do we find ourselves this weekend? How wise and flexible are we? Are we willing to venture into a land that we do not know with the faith of Abraham?